Greetings. We're here today to open some packs from Pirates at Ocean's Edge. Pirates was a constructible strategy game, or CSG, not to be confused with a collectible card game, CCG, though it certainly had some elements of a CCG, that was produced by WizKid Games from 2004 to 2009. They started with Pirates of the Spanish Main and followed with successive expansions. This was Pirates at Ocean's Edge, which I believe was one of the later expansions towards the end. But let's open one of the packs and you can see what's inside. Now, what was cool about this game, I really thought was cool about it, was that in each pack you would get basically a ship that you would construct out of these small credit card sized pieces of plastic that you would then punch out and construct a nice looking little ship model. These retailed for, I think, about $4 a pack, so comparable to a lot of other CCGs that were around at the time. But each ship had a number of masts, which was reflective of its ability to deal as well as absorb damage, had a cargo capacity to store treasure, and had a speed of how fast or how far it could move. So a little bit almost like a tabletop strategy game. And then this told you of its cannons, not only the ranges, but what the hit probabilities were. So this one is the USS Kentucky. And as some of these ships came with special abilities as well. Once per turn, you could re-roll any die roll made for the ship, but you must use the second die roll result. So if you missed on your first shot, you could try again. So this is a larger ship, a four-master, somewhat similar to the ship I have over here on the side. There were different factions. American was one of them, although it's, with the circular stars, because this was back in the days of sailing ships. There's another American one. This was only a two-master, but it looks like it had a lot of Looks like it had a lot of cargo capacity, but only two guns and a slower move. Each pack also came with little itty, I don't know if you can see it, little itty bitty tiny dice that in practice I don't think you'd actually use, but the thought was there. There were terrain cards. You could either have a Sargasso Sea, which is a terrain effect, or an island where you would maybe have a fort, or you would dock to explore and gather treasure. These are some of the treasure coins. They would be put face down on one of the islands and then randomly, and then you would try to claim the treasure as one path to victory. You could also just go for all-out fighting, but that really wasn't the full intent, I don't think, of the game. And then every once in a while you would get these special treasures. Open another pack here. So here we have Le Moulin Rouge, a French ship. And yes, there was boarding. You could try to board and capture other ships. This is a French ship. You could board and try to capture enemy ships. There was also special crew you could have on your ship. This was a fire pot specialist. And it would give effects if they hit. Let's see what else we have in that pack. Here's a reef or an island. This is interesting. This looks like a... So again, here's a... So this looks like in the style of a Chinese junk boat. But it's an American ship. Yeah, it's a junk. But it's an American faction ship. I guess maybe the Americans had bases overseas. This is a captain crew. The ship can move and shoot using the same action. That's huge because in the game, baseline, you would only get basically one action per turn. But if you had a captain on that ship as crew, you could move and shoot using the same action. So that was a major advantage. So Musketeer would give you an extra shot, an extra firing at the enemy, and this was a special crew that would allow for you to have a cross-faction crew on your ship. And here he comes with some little backstory, little flavor text. Again, you would get a rule book. I guess at this point, the factions were the pirates, the French, the English, the Americans, the Spanish, and the cursed. Probably cursed by Davy Jones. I think I saw a reference to him, and quite frankly, that's probably why these guys looked so creepy. All right, let's keep going then. All right, so here's our island or a fog bank. Again, some pretty interesting terrain effects. This one, I believe, once you entered the fog bank, when you went to exit it, you would end up you would come out randomly. You'd roll a dice to see where you would come out because you would get lost in the fog. Here's the checklist for seeing if you got all the cards in the set. Okay, what do we have here? We have a helmsman. Gives you a little faster move. Plus the treasure. Ooh, looks like we got ourselves a sea monster here of some sort. Oh yeah, look at that. A Titan with the fear attribute. I'm sure that's a keyword that is explained in the rule book somewhere. But wow. I mean, it looks like a giant crab when you put it together, and each one of its claws, it does an attack. Wow. And then what do we have here? Oh, we got another one of those fire pot specialists. And then this is a small little ship, only 2 masts and 1 cargo storage, although it's fast. And it cannot be shot at by ships within an S range. The way they measured the range for the game was really cool. This was you would use the cards. So this was S range, and this was L range. They really put a lot of thought into making sure you could have a game in every pack. Nice little on-ramp to try to get people to play it. And hey, look, the game was around for a good 5 years before they finally stopped. But yeah, this is I mean, that's why it's worth 11 points when you're building your fleet. And even though it's a small ship, it's got some long-range cannons. It's pretty speedy. And yeah. Okay, on to our last pack. Okay, what do we got? We got a fire pot specialist, but they are from the cursed faction. So these kind of wannabe zombie guys working for Davy Jones or something. What do we got here? Triton's Bane. Ooh, another cursed ship. Ramming, yes, ramming was a tactic in the game you could use. But ramming cannot eliminate the ship's masts. It's got 2 masts, but don't try to ram it because that's not going to be a good tactic. And then what else do we have here? Here's a French ship, L'Auguste. Looks like some long-range cannons. Not a bad ship. This ship gets +1 to her cannon rolls against English ships. They did have some ships that had a chosen enemy that they particularly disliked, and so you would get advantages when attacking a faction, a boat of that type. Here's a musketeer, as we talked about before. Oh, a musketeer would give you an additional firing. And a cannoneer, once per turn. Oh, if one of the ship's cannons may shoot again if it misses. I think we saw one of the other ships, I kind of had this built in. But I guess if you didn't have that built in, or if you wanted to stack those abilities, you could put him in your crew on your ship. There's another crew, a shipwright, helps you repair damage. And that looks like it's about it. We get another reef. So I think out of all those things that we got, the most exciting thing to me was this sea monster looking guy. El Toro, the giant Titan crab. That would probably be pretty cool to punch out and put together. So awesome. Well, hope you all enjoyed. We'll see you next time.